Hey everyone, welcome back to Big Data and Dim Sum Season 2, Episode 1, officially Episode 9. So we just had a recap episode, which should be up now on Spotify and YouTube, but we'd love for you to check it out. We cover everything we covered in Season 1, all of our amazing guests, our favorite moments. It's worth the watch. It was a really fun discussion, and it's cool kind of having that lens of a year after we filmed it all and our reflections of it, and also what we want to change about this year. So we love that. Additionally, we also have a social media presence now. As you remember, and as we joke about in the recap, which you should watch, um, we could only be reached via email at bigdata.dimsum@gmail.com, but now we also have an Instagram, bigdata.dimsum. So join us over there, send us your ideas, give us feedback, or just say hi to Michael because he'll respond to you on social media there. But pretty much that's kind of what we've been up to, kind of get season 2 ready. I'm gonna leave it to Michael right now to talk a little bit about what we're gonna bring in season 2 and some fun content things that we've been discussing. And yeah, let me hand it off to you
Definitely.
now.
Definitely. And just on that point of the socials, definitely feel free to reach out. It's been fun. Hopefully, you've enjoyed our little teasers we've been dropping here and there. You can tell we're as excited as hopefully you are, or you will be. But yeah, definitely check out our latest recap episode coming soon, if not already out. And kind of in that recap, we discuss, what we necessarily didn't like about last season, incorporated feedback from, friends, colleagues, family as well, and kind of determined that, moving forward, maybe instead of putting all the onus or the pressure on our guests to come to the show with an idea for a shitty startup, we maybe start off each episode with a broader theme. These higher level themes that kind of guide our discussion, and then maybe organically we come out with a shitty startup idea just based on our conversation. So that's kind of, I think, and we think collectively that should be the way moving forward of how we're gonna kind of think of our startup ideas, and we're gonna try it. Obviously, if it doesn't work, but that's kind of what this whole process is about. Ryan, how are you doing? So, also, I don't know if I said hello to listeners out there and viewers. We're super excited for this episode. But yeah, why don't I just start off with our theme for this week to kind of guide our discussion. Super broad, as I mentioned, can
Yeah.
include a lot of different things, a lot of different topics, and that's kind of what we're aiming for. But kind of touched on it our previous episode. It's travel.
Yeah, so I mean, travel just has so much that, Michael and I have experienced this past year. We mentioned that, we've both been on different trips. And I think the meaningful part here is that it's very relevant, especially in this post-COVID world, like being able to
Yeah.
finally see places again, experience things, whether it's, going to, people's graduations or weddings or seeing new countries that we haven't been able to go to. And also like technology has just kind of changed the way travel works and happens, so that's a cool thing we just want to talk about as we go through today. But what about for you, Michael? Like what kind of, hit your interest here?
Yeah, I mean it's so broad, I mean, you can think about travel in so many different aspects, whether that's exploring a new culture, just the actual logistics of travel that are often, cumbersome,
Yeah.
or just like the joy of trying new different foods, trying different foods in different cultures,
Yeah.
and then learning different languages. So it's all encompassing, and I'm just a uh, huge fan of exploring new places and learning about that culture, and trying to immerse yourself in that world. And I've had the opportunity to travel quite a bit this year, as we kind of touched on in last episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I still got my eye on a couple sites. I want to do a lot more traveling, but you just never have. Time and resources are are both limited. So
Yeah, following up on that, what are some of the places you want to go to next? Like, what's next on that list?
yeah, I got so many, to be honest.
Yeah,
So following, and I know I think we've spoken on this, but following graduation a while back from college, I wanted to do like a grad trip and go to Southeast Asia, particularly like explore like Singapore, Thailand,
yeah,
that whole part of the world. And I never really got to do that because come a year or two later, COVID, and never, everyone gets busy with work, and you just can't really. It's sad, but oftentimes you just you put that on the back burner, and focus on your day to day and what's going on in
yeah,
front of
yeah,
you. So still want to iron those out. Definitely really want to explore more of Europe. That's, I mean, something on my list, and as well as like
Yeah.
going to Tomorrowland is just going to Belgium. That's
I
something
know.
that would be super cool. It's like the pinnacle, right? Yeah, I mean, I got so many things on my list, man. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we share that same like want to go to Southeast Asia just because of all the different things you could do there. The food is like just so amazing. That's something I experienced last year going to Singapore, already enjoying the hawker stalls. But
Yeah,
going to the birthplace of banh
fire.
mi, like for those of you who don't know, like I am obsessed with banh mi, and I always like get people on new spots that I'm trying.
He's
That's
a
one.
coined banh mi bro.
I'm a banh mi bro, yeah. And if you're listening to this, Kevin, you
Shout
know
out,
the
shout out
other
St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis,
shout
Missouri.
out, shout out
Our
Washington.
one our one listener there. Yeah, but Bami
He ain't
boy,
even
bro.
listening, bro.
He's
We
not,
don't-
bro. We'll
He's
link
not
it to him
listening.
after the show. But yeah, I love that aspect. But I think I love how there's like a good mix of like, Southeast Asia is becoming a lot more developed. There's a lot of cool metropolitan vibes to it, especially if you're in Singapore, in the big cities in like, for example, Malaysia, Indonesia, and like, Vietnam, Thailand. But there's also so much nature and like history with kind of just how, just post Vietnam War with everything, just like having different sights to see and like different like, I don't know, it's just like a beautiful spot to be in. But yeah, I think I also echo that. I do like Europe, and I think particularly like Italy, I've heard a ton about. A lot of my coworkers and friends have been recently, and they say just like the food is amazing. Like it's like no matter where you go, it's not just pasta. There's like
I know.
amazing meats too. Yeah,
I've heard both sides of the coin. So I've heard,
yeah,
oh, it's amazing, second to none, and then I've also heard it gets a
yeah.
little like I've heard that, and I mean, don't cancel us for this. This is
Yeah.
just someone else's opinion that I heard.
So we're
But
not affiliated with this opinion, by the way.
shout out to this opinion. You know who you are if you're listening. Probably not listening, but basically, this person said, and that Italian food is better in the States than it is in Italy.
Oh
I don't know if
man,
it's
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where it comes from, but I don't know. So there are differing opinions out there.
I
But
guess
I mean,
there's only one way to find out. It's just, let's go to
we
Italy.
gotta go. Yeah, big date
Yeah,
and dim sum in
yeah.
Italia.
First company trip.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, we burn all our budget, so we have to use.
Yeah. Exactly. So
Can't
if you
even
like to
afford a
fund
Zoom
our,
license, but
our
we'll
go.
go. Can't even
Oh,
afford a Zoom license.
that's a
Or
that's a trade secret. Trade secret.
you're
Bro.
right. You're right. Well, they already know we didn't pay for Buzzsprout, so it's
Oh my gosh. Hey, let's get it back away from our trade secrets. But yeah, I think like a big thing that's just kind of a theme here is like we love that aspect of the food first and foremost, the sights,
yeah.
and I think for me also it's like such a social experience. I realize like every trip I've been on to, it's like it's a communal thing, and like you always listen back to like old audio or watch old videos of like your trips, and I feel like it brings me closer to people. Like everyone I've been on a trip with has like been it's been a really close experience for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a type of person who, when you travel, you like to at least try to learn the language and try speaking with the locals in language, or you're better off like I'd rather just speak English and just not try and butcher the language?
That's a tough one because I feel like I make an effort, right? Like I think I
Mm.
learned like very basic Chinese for Taiwan. Oh my gosh, dude! When I went to the convenience store, I remember I was just like, 这个是 like it was so bad that the dude was just like, just speak English. I was
Just speak English, bro?
like,
Yeah, I feel it.
but I try. I make an effort. I know that you make an effort too, because I remember you just last year went to Quebec where
Right.
you try to get to learn French. How was that for you? Yeah.
It was different. I mean, for those people who don't know, and I'm not gonna try to mansplain this either because there are many people who know, but Quebec French is different from the French you study.
Yeah.
One, Parisian French, and that's the one that's typically studied in schools in America if you do take it. The written language is the same, the accent's different. So it can sound a little bit off. And for someone who's a non-native and barely conversational, maybe it was quite difficult to discern what they were saying at first. But once I was there for maybe a week, and towards the end of the week, I was starting to discern that, oh, I can understand they just drop a lot of syllables, smushing everything together, and their accents sound a little funny, but I can kind of discern what that means now, and I was feeling a little more
Yeah.
comfortable.
It's like mumble
So
rap French, bro.
well, I
Is what
mean,
you're describing.
so I've heard a lot of
No
my friends
offense.
from
I'm not saying that
Toronto.
about that. Yeah.
What they'll say is like,
Yeah.
honestly, it's kind of like the King's English or Queen's English versus American English, right?
Yeah.
The people probably think we're hillbillies out here is talking like this, versus
Yeah.
instead of saying speaking proper, right? Which is the proper King Queen's English back in the UK. So I think that's kind of the similarity that people will draw. Not to say they're hillbilly French or whatever,
Yeah.
but at least the American, right? They're a colony by extension,
Yeah.
the largest French colony in North America. So originally, at least,
Yeah.
but that was a great experience. I love Quebec. I know you frequent there quite often, so it's a great place.
Yeah. Do you think that learning it, like, I know you're on the Duolingo grind. Do you think that helped a lot though? Like, just to have the context of the language and at least general idea of what people were saying. And do you think it's like usually important for you when you go travel?
I really like language because it helps me
Yeah.
like learn about a culture. So that's like a weird interest, not weird, but it's like an interest of mine. Like I'm a very curious person. So if I want to know what that means and why the origin of this word comes from, where it comes from, why it's used, I'll just go in a deep dive. So I appreciate it. I mean, I use Duo. I actually took French in school for several years, so that was kind of the backbone.
Yeah,
And then
big
Duo
French
was
camp
just
guy.
to keep me up. Yo, shout out to French Camp.
French
Shout
Camp,
out
Arcadia High
to
School.
Big Bear. Now it's at Big Bear. Yo, this is like you get scolded if you speak any English, only French. And I witnessed some interesting shit happen at that Big Bear French Camp. And it got quite dicey at times. People didn't want to speak French, and they got kind of mad. So. But shout out to French Cat, man.
Oh my gosh. Sorry for interrupting you. Yeah.
No, all good, all good. I mean, I think that was probably the gist of what I was going to talk about in terms of the Quebec aspect and learning French. I do really like the language. I also like, and maybe this is where I don't know if you agree with me, but I do enjoy like when I'm traveling, going to either certain restaurants or maybe towns or seeing certain buildings that have one, like I guess there's twofold. So like the true natural like original buildings and food of the culture versus like an adapted take based on the company's previous colonization history. So like for example like Sazantang, right? Like like the Hong Kong cafe, it's like the British influence, and then you see a lot of French influence in like Vietnam. You see a lot of in Korea you see some American influence in terms of like from the Korean War and some of the meats they use in their foods. So it's quite interesting to try it all, and I think food is a beautiful kind of medium for that.
Yeah, I totally get you. And I think it's interesting kind of tying it back to what you said about language, where these influences and kind of because they're derived from like the root, like French or American or British influences, like you can taste it in the food too, like certain ingredients they use or certain variations of dishes, kind of similar to like the different dialects of how you would speak, which is pretty
Fair.
cool. Yeah, but I think that local experience is really cool too. And I think that's hard to find because I feel like if you're looking like Yelp reviews and stuff, you usually find the top rated where maybe tourists are going to a lot or people in your home country.
Yelp isn't even really used globally, right? You got to go on Google.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is true. Like the Google reviews are popping off. I'm seeing that a lot. And I guess it's kind of one aspect tying it back to the theme in tech today of like, like technology being used for travel, like the fact that you kind of have an encyclopedia of places that's real time, just in your palm now, that people like 30 years ago traveling didn't have.
Yeah. It makes a lot like communication and navigation a lot easier too. I'm not sure how they work in terms of, I mean, it's semi real time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it, but I mean, they're like, I forget, but I think there was this one trinket that maybe years ago where it still exists today. You can hook it up to one ear. It's a mic, and then it's basically two headpieces or earpieces. You give one person to the other party, and you just both speak your natural tongue, and then they convert it, and they basically swap for you. So you can, with a slight delay, couple seconds maybe, you can hear what they're saying, translated to your language, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. I feel like nowadays with all the generative AI stuff too, like it's so possible to do that and like a lot quicker. I'd imagine like you're like 5-10 years from now where it's just like you can hear just like real time and you're responding, or it just does it on the fly.
Yeah, Yeah. There was this kind of this thing I wanted to buy. It looked pretty cool. Haven't bought it, but it's like it kind of looks like,
Yeah.
you ever use like whiteout back in the day? Like that little,
Yeah.
those little,
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't look like a pen. It kind of looks like an oval kind of thing with a little sharp
Yeah.
tip, and you white out. For those who are younger listeners, white out is what happens when you make a mistake in pen. You can't erase it, and you need to cover it up with some.
You just write another layer over it, so
write
you
another
don't see
layer.
it anymore. Yeah.
It's like a little white adhesive goes over it, and you rewrite over it.
Yeah.
Well, kind of looks like that, except the part where the whiteout would normally come out, the tape whiteout, would be like a camera, and you can basically scan any written text, and it'll translate it for you into whatever language you want. So very cool, and it connects to Wi-Fi, so it is real time if you have Wi-Fi, and there are a couple languages natively stored on the device locally, so that you can, without Wi-Fi, be scanning things. It's cool, like if you can't read, or if you're illiterate in Chinese like me or something, or like a remote, you can just scan away and be like, oh, that's what that is, and that's how you pronounce it. So I think that's very cool.
Yeah, totally, man. Just imagine using that at a restaurant. You're just on the menu, like, ooh. Like signs, you're like,
this is why I wanted it. I was like, sometimes I just want to know the specials at Chinese restaurants. I'm like, what is that, bro? Give me the discounts, and I'm just scanning their like the board they write on, right? The menus up on the walls, the secret menus. I'm like, I can't read that. So
damn, I wonder if this is like an all-in-one like startup idea. I wonder if this is the start of our like discussion about startups, because I feel like
back
it's
to
like,
dim sum.
back to that aspect, but yeah, man, it's kind of crazy looking at the different things that are letting us like be more interconnected to different societies, and like when you're going to travel, like making you feel like you're less of like a foreigner in the sense that you at least can understand the gist of what's going on.
Yeah.
That's super awesome. I feel like that's like one amazing thing tech's enabling, because it's not just like travel is getting better from it, but I think it's like the travel experiences, which I think we touched a lot on. That's like what we really care about, like that we're having a great time in a different city or country we've never experienced before. Yeah, man, it's cool to reflect on that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like, I mean, tech is becoming so advanced. I mean, I think the last time I was traveling to, where was that, Malaysia. I was in Malaysia maybe over a year ago now, and I remember, this is maybe not quite during peak COVID, after COVID, but COVID was still around, right? It was still just not as predominant, but they had these, and this is in your regular train station or your mall kind of. They had these, I remember seeing these tripod looking things. It's like basically a tripod with a camera on top.
Yeah.
And they were set up throughout this long walkway that you have to walk through the terminal. Yeah. It's not even an airport or anything, nothing like that. It was like, it was kind of just this train station. So I'm walking and I see this camera, and as I'm walking by, right, I pass the camera. I turn around to look at what the camera is on the screen, and it shows like a picture of my face that's been scanned, that routed to my passport photo and all my metrics. Like I could see my passport information. I could see like all information about me, my temperature,
your vertical
like,
jump.
When I entered, like might as well have. Like it was creepy, but I was like, damn, they can pick that out just from seeing me walk through a crowd of people, and the same happened to one of my buddies who was also walking through. It was very interesting just to see that. See that unfold. It's like, wow, it's quite advanced. It's a little creepy, a little governmental, but it makes sense. It's
like so dystopian, like you're thinking like surveillance state type of thing, but it also, like, if you think about just traveling through and transiting through airport security, it's like such a pain. So it is kind of nice that you walk through and it's like, oh, we scanned you, bro. You're not a threat.
This wasn't even the airport though. Yo, this is like a train station, like a local little train station.
It's a restaurant, bro. We're just trying to.
The next time I went through that, I was sprinting through. I was like, let's see if they can catch me. Maybe they can't see it too fast. They still got me. They still got me. Very impressive. Dude.
Yeah, so basically, like, that's basically saying, even if you're running away from the scene of a crime, they'll get you, man. Like,
yeah. I mean,
for younger listeners, that's the thing. Don't do bad things. They'll catch you, bro.
Yeah,
the cameras are faster than you are, bro.
Technology will always get you in the end,
man. Dude, I think this is like a perfect time to segue, though. Like, I feel like we've talked through so many of these cool applications of technology. Has this percolated into a shitty startup idea for you? I feel like as you were talking, I was thinking like, damn, I feel like I don't even know if it's shitty. I think it's a pretty good idea. What if you put all these things together and make like a like airport, train station, or like a place type of security like app or something, that does the translation stuff, that does the scanning and
An
metrics, but
all-in-one travel kit.
all in one travel kit for either consumers who want to interact or want to be able to like also, like even vet themselves like, hey, is my passport scanner working fine or whatnot. That's some like random idea I have. I'm curious to hear what are your ideas for a shitty start per day today.
Interesting. No,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just think of like thinking back to that being able to scan someone just based off that quick movement and that quick glimpse by just like what other
Yeah.
applications can that have even outside of you know obviously we're trying to speak within the realms of travel, but it
Yeah.
just got me thinking like even outside of that, like the possibilities are endless. But I guess within the scope of travel, like being able to, I don't know if that would be a good use case though, in terms of like being able to locate and navigate around the area and figure out where your certain things are just based off like publicizing this camera footage. But
That's true. That gets a little bit dicey.
yeah, it gets a little bit dicey. It would be cool though, but I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like there are some like, can't your average Joe act like, maybe not. Can you access like CCTV footage?
I feel like no
maybe.
public one. I guess it's public data, right? But the government still kind of controls that, right? Like they can tell you, nah, I don't want you to see that, or like they can be like, oh, here's access to it for like a court case, right? So that's it. That's a
So
bit
no,
dicey,
you can't
right?
really access that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I always wondered, like, if I guess if there's like a criminal reason behind it,
Yeah,
and perhaps you'll be allowed access. I don't know if your average civilian will be allowed access, but some will be allowed access. But I was just curious.
Yeah, that's a
But
good
obviously,
point.
my idea is kind of whack. But
No,
well,
I
I'm
like
down to
that
flesh out
idea.
yours.
No, I like that idea a lot. I think even if we don't do any one of the ideas today, it's a good topic of discussion next time, right? Because
Yeah.
I like the whole idea of just like cameras being so smart now that it can be used in like athletics, Like I was thinking about
Right.
that. Or like, for example, like stoplights and like smart stoplights that's smarter and that it can catch things a lot safer. And prevent accidents. That's something I actually talked to someone about at a party. Their startups basically focus on that, and I think they just launched.
Really?
It's pretty crazy. I forgot what they were called, but they're using that camera and like computer vision technology to do that. Um, yeah, man, I feel like this deserves another episode. Like, I feel like we could talk about that kind of in a discussion of like sports or like,
Yeah.
um,
Or even
yeah.
like medicine and health, like health and wellness.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Being able to basically like determine your medical data by
Yeah.
just looking at you. Obviously, there's certain things you need internally, and shooting an X-ray beam at someone is probably not the best for
Yeah,
their
it's not
health.
the best. And I don't know if your iPhone can do that yet. Maybe iPhone 16.
Yeah.
Man. iPhone 16.
I
will
iPhone
have
16,
it.
yeah. Yeah, maybe the 16.
All right, man. Let's table that for next episode or the one after.
Yeah, okay.
Now that we kind of have a better idea of it, but let's think about applications for that. I do want to kind of maybe put two ideas we had together of what you mentioned of the real time, where you have a device where it's like
Yeah.
the USB stick, right? But we could probably take that to like in this travel kit you're saying, and kind of this whole idea of like just like an all-in-one type of thing. What if we had all those real-time things, right? The real-time visualization on your phone and real-time translations, and it's like just an app. Because I feel
Yeah.
like that becomes something where it's very useful because a lot of people are using disparate apps like that, but there's also no like smart capability of it. Usually right now it's kind of just like if this, do this output.
Yeah.
It's like hard coded into it, right?
Yeah.
That's my thought. Yeah.
And they're not necessarily linked, right? Your
Yeah,
online
yeah.
pocket dictionary that you use is not going to be linked to a translator that you're using. So I mean, if that was all basically
yeah.
software linked into one app, or there's some connectivity between it, it might be a lot easier for just all in one app. You have this app? Yes, I do. Now we can communicate. Now I can read signs. Now I can, etc. Right. So perhaps something along
Yeah.
that angles of that. I do like the idea of making it into the app platform versus like a pure hardware.
Yeah.
because you're gonna have to link like your 8 devices and just have like a little suitcase that you pop out
Yeah,
every
yeah,
time.
exactly. Or maybe that is the thing we sell. We sell like we're not selling the app because Google or Facebook can do that. Like I feel like the
Yeah.
technology can do that. What if we're selling like people actually like the nostalgic physical things, right? What if we're making like a travel pack, like a physical travel pack where you're like,
Physical shelf.
if you want to scan this, connect it to your phone and like do this. I feel like this takes it from like a viable business that Google will probably do to the
Yeah.
shitty startup idea that's gimmicky, but there's still a market for. And I'm gonna die on this hill. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'm for it. I mean, you could basically have like
Yeah.
inside your little suitcase, you have, I don't know, some you could put a person inside the suitcase. That person is the translator. They want a physical in-person translator. You have someone who knows Japanese, English, Chinese,
It's a
Korean.
contractor, bro.
It's independent contractor pops out and says, "Hello, how can I help you?" Hey, I'm for it. If there's a market, then there's a will, there's a way.
Dude, this is people as a service, bro. People as a pass, bro. It's a pass.
We're back to PPAS, bro.
We got to VPAS, bro. Placeholder people, man. Everything
Yeah.
goes back to episode 2. Watch that. It's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe
Watch
we
all
talk
our
about,
episodes, man.
Yeah, I agree with that too. But let's flesh it out though. So, what do you think are essentials? Like, let's actually go with that idea. We're making a kit. Okay, the product is going to be a kit where there's distinct things that are useful for you to be there, and they're masked as physical items that you'll usually use, right? Like a map. Instead of a map, it's like a scanner for like street signs to tell you where you should go.
Yeah.
Instead of like for example, phone device, like it's kind of like one of those old earpieces in spy movies, and it will translate and it will speak out for you too.
Yeah.
So like I feel like that would be kind of cool, like a spy kit, make it really like themed and stuff. What do you think?
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm just thinking of like, who are you technically appealing to here?
Yeah,
Who like
yeah,
those
yeah.
nostalgic? It's like probably your boomers, but
Yeah.
then they don't even know how to use technology, right? So they like the. It's like
Yeah.
it's maybe more millennial who were exposed to people using those things, like maybe their parents were using these traditional things,
Yeah.
like maps, etc., but are more tech enabled now.
Ooh, what if we take the angle where it's like very, what do you call it, like fashionable, right? Because I was thinking just about like a friend, like Max, like working on wearables company where he's trying to make it sexy for like wearables. What if we kind of take the whole thing here and make it sexy to like use these like technologies in this travel kit?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, that making things aesthetically pleasing is one way to sell. It's proven, right? For a certain
Yeah.
demographic. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I guess what would that end up looking like? Like, do you think that would be something that would be more like have more appeal, and like is that a viable business? I think we have to always like center back to that. Like, it's a shitty idea, but it's a viable business. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me think about that one. I mean, for one, let's think about if there's a market for it, right? I mean, clearly there is a market for products like these.
Yeah,
I don't know how big the market is, it just off the top of my head, but I would assume if you're thinking
Yeah.
about travel globally, and people who travel for one, leisure, and two, business, those are two very large segments within the travel market, essentially, right? People who travel because they have to, and people who travel because they want to, and both of those people are needing help translating things, needing help
Yeah.
navigating. They don't necessarily have certain resources that are all jumbled together. They're kind of all scattered, and not necessarily easy to use.
Yeah, that is a really good point then. I guess maybe instead of trying to do this whole thing, because we want to combine these things together, maybe kind of combine it to the modern day equivalents, right? Instead of making something available on every device, make something available on like Apple Vision Pro plus like, Apple Glass or Google Glass for
Yeah.
like vision based ones. And your phone can be like the main hub. And then your watch can like determine things like audio, kind of like, in the old spy movies. I don't know why I'm going on the spy theme. Like, maybe it's just like it's stuck in my mind now.
Yeah, you're thinking like international,
International
traveling.
spy, right? Because
International
that's
spy.
sexy, you're James Bond or like, like The Rock and
Who's the
in
modern
Fast
day
and Furious.
equivalent of James Bond, bro? I don't even know.
It could be
people-
you. This is what we're trying to sell people.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
could be
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. What do you think? Like, what do you think should be the core of the product? Because I guess we need to kind of think what the core of the product is before we can think about what that market is. Or I guess we could think about it the other way around too. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go either way, but if you want to think about it, what the product is and see if there's a market for it, I mean, I think we can run with your idea of basically having kind of, the physical materials, physical hardware,
Yeah.
and then determining from there, like, which would be most used and what the tech-enabled aspects of that physical hardware will be. I just think it's going to be quite pricey. So from a pricing standpoint, you'd have to sell. It's going to be pretty expensive, right? Just to make.
It's a hardware business then.
It's a hardware business, yeah. It seems like, unless you wanted to move it all into to software on an app, and then it becomes easier one, but also
we
not
could do
as
that.
nostalgic.
I guess we could do that too, because like there are like physical aspects that people move digitally, and it's still like nostalgic, or even instruments these days. Like people put like a guitar app or like a piano app or whatever, and play it on your like phone.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have the same experience, but it is useful to get the sound at least close enough to what you want it to be. And I guess we could do that where we make it an app where you're tapping into different devices that kind of emulate that experience and have some haptic feedback, kind of how that actual thing would work, right? Kind of like if it's that sound thing, like a click of like, oh, we're on now, or like it's like you're getting a call or like people are talking, or if it's like the like whole scanning thing, it has like a scanning sound, like a when you like scan something,
Yeah. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the issue is there's so many different applications out there that do some of these things that you have to be quite competitive, right?
Yeah, you're right. But I guess the question is like, is there an app that does all of this, right? Because what we're saying
I don't
is
think
like
so.
centralizing it, and it would be the same technology. Like kind of diving into that a bit, it's like with all the like generative AI stuff available now, like you're able to generate these different sequences and like be able to, like for example, like you can interpret the lettering and also be able to predict the next words and also read things. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be like LLMs, but just generally AI and like optical character recognition, and then feed it into an LLM to translate it for you, right? Because the core of this all would be translation, right? You're basically taking in whatever form of text or audio, transforming it into words and vectors, and then you'll just translate it to the same thing on the other end. That's like, the representation of it in another language. So it's a core technology that's the same, which means we just need to really think about the form and the marketing and making them all one and making the platform, for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thoughts though. I like happy to entertain more thoughts. It's really just spitballing it,
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think this idea, it's a tough one. Because I think it's highly competitive, but it is fragmented with all those different apps. But I think if you do it right, image recognition paired with AI and the ability to generative AI specifically, and the ability to like kind of extrapolate based on an image of text, what it means contextually, that will be huge, because sometimes, languages are contextual, and there are things you won't understand, and that's one of the biggest issues with like having the Google Translate app and putting it to a sign, right? And let's say you're in Hong Kong or somewhere, or Taiwan, you put it next to a sign, and it'll say something that doesn't make sense, right? And it doesn't make sense when you translate it, and that's like just like. I'm trying to think, like in the 626, right? 168 Bistro, like 168 Market, right? Stuff that just doesn't make sense. Like you get like Happy Dragon Restaurant, right? Lucky,
oh yeah,
Lucky Happy House.
So it's
right?
just context to it.
But there's context to it, right? So, but you don't necessarily get that from direct translation. So maybe something that pairs that with the ability to tap into any and all the databases on the public web, and then be able to discern what exactly that is trying to say contextually for contextual languages.
Yeah, no, I really like that, man. And I think it also makes it kind of closer to that local experience you want as well, right? Because a lot of these like translation apps can do the translation part and the technology is there. But to be able to like kind of like, Genius, the lyrics website, where they give you more context behind what do these lyrics mean. Where we can
sometimes
do that.
It's not that deep.
It's not, bro. Like, there's so many songs where they're just like, hey, what does this skirt mean in that? It's a sound, bro. It's a sound.
The artist's like, I didn't even mean to rhyme that, but
but orange does rhyme with orange, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that then. Maybe that could be the pivot here. Because kind of making it so that it's contextual and then it has that kind of network effect of people joining and trying it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that seems like the core business idea maybe that we're gonna run with.
Yeah, yeah.
Those of you listening and watching, slide in our DMs, let us know feedback. Is this a good idea? What do you think? Any iterations, any changes? We'd love to hear it. This is live, us just spitballing. You can see kind of the organic thought here. So hopefully this is something you enjoy. We're looking to do this more moving forward versus coming more prepared with kind of our structured like analysis of how you determine if something is worth it, like a good startup or not, or a shitty startup or not.
Yeah, totally. And I guess like what we want to do still is to be true to those standards as well. Like we don't want to start by being that structured, but at the end be like, okay, does our idea match what we think are the 8 things we typically look at? And I guess that's something that we can kind of cover now as we talked about this idea.
We can just tick through them.
Let's go through kind of, okay, so what is the core product? Basically now it's more contextual, like all-in-one app for translations, signs, visual, audio, basically anything related to you traveling in a place with context submitted by users. What that means technologically is it's like a platform similar to like genius.com, right? Where you have that in addition to, like user submitted stuff and also the power of LLMs to like do the translation aspect. But you can also tie it to a certain context and make it sexy of an app, which is what will draw people in. That one's a bit softer of a selling point. But yeah, I think that's the thing right there. But is the offering unique is our first question with regards to that.
I mean, I think so, but I mean, your largest competitor is OpenAI, right? I mean, they can do this too. I mean, they just attach a camera, take a photo of something. But I mean, I think in terms of the application, I do think it's unique for this purposes of travel. So I like that. The market, right? On the market front, I do agree. I think this is a large market. If you look at travel, particularly split between leisure and for business, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, answers the first question. I think it's unique as well, especially with the context. Is there a large market for this?
That's what I just covered. Yeah, I was kind of hitting 2 in 1. Yeah, we can skip to the next.
Is there current traction or the potential for product market fit? I guess yes, there is, in the sense that like people really like things that kind of consolidate. And that's why people use like one app instead of many if they can. Yeah. And that's what like certain apps like SoFi are trying to do with like finance, for example. Yeah. And I think it would work here with like translation and a travel app. There's no all-in-one travel app. Like I feel like I use like 5 different travel apps for everything.
Yeah, it's hyper fragmented.
So I think the product market fit here would just be consolidating them or being good integrations with them would help a ton. But I don't think there's current traction for this because people can just use existing apps. I think there would need to be a compelling enough option that's like 10 times better to be able to do this. So that kind of ties into like how feasible the technology and the product is. So is the tech feasible? I covered it previously, but I think so. I think it leverages what's very now feasible. Available and mixes it with certain network effects and social networking that we see. And last one, can we see a path to scale or exit?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think monetization wise, it's going to be pretty difficult to charge for something like this, just because of the available free offerings. But if you make it compelling enough, perhaps, right? The market's huge, so you never know. All you need to do is get acquired by one of these larger giants, and you make yourself tasty enough. So you never know. We'll leave it open ended. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you do agree with us or disagree, and we'll respond maybe,
or build it and we'll try it
and let us know,
and we'll let you know. We'll if you find out about it, it's scaled,
definitely.
So we'd love to hear that.
That about wraps up our shitty startup segment, unless Ryan, you had anything else to add?
No, I mean, I guess the last things here are kind of just wrap up and what we want to hear from you guys. So pretty much the latest on this is we're gonna do some online episodes because Michael and I are no longer in the same city. But we'll also be able to do in-person episodes when we're in the same city, so look out for that. Next up, we're really excited to have just future guest on. We'll let you know in a few weeks, and we'll tease it a bit.
We will continue to tease.
We will continue to tease everything. It will be a really fun time. And I would say last thing here is please follow us at bigdata.dimsum on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
You can also find us Big Data and Dimsum on Spotify and also on YouTube. And additionally, please let us know, do you like learning languages before you travel? And also, what do you think about our idea? that's pretty much
Hope
it
you
for
enjoyed
me.
this episode. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed.
Hope it was a good time.
Peace.
Peace.